Today, I'm going to tell you how I successfully left my day job to freelance write full time. I've been full time writing on my own for the last 8 months, and it's going really well. And I'm going to tell you today how I did that over the course of the last few years. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Savannah J. Goins, author of the Gwythinian series, and today I'm going to tell you the strategy that I used to leave the regular workforce and finally write on my own from home on my couch, which is wonderful. So the short version is that I left a really cool job that didn't pay very well and was high stress for a job that was, it paid better, which was a great side effect, but mostly it was less stressful. And the reason I did this was because at the time I was focused on book writing, which I still am to some degree, but I was so tired. I was an anesthetist at an exotic animal clinic, and so I kept all kinds of crazy animals alive in surgery. And it was a really cool job. I got to see a lot of cool animals, and it was really cool to be able to help them stay alive in surgery so that they could get healthier and, live a great rest of their pet lives. But it was very, very, very stressful. Trying to keep something so tiny alive in surgery is very stressful. And so at the end of the day, I had no mental capacity left to write. I started writing early in the mornings, writing my books, and that helped a little bit. It was some time that I could focus on my writing before having to give up all of my time to a job for the rest of the day. But I just was always so tired, mentally exhausted, that I didn't have very much time to write. And so when it was time for me to leave that job, I found a job that paid $6 more an hour, which was great. But also it was not as stressful. It was great for me as an introvert. I was going to spend, a couple hours a day around my team, but mostly working by myself. And doing a job that was physical but required very little mental capacities. So by the time I finished with that job each day, I was able to have the mental bandwidth still to work on my books more in the evening. I kept working on writing in the morning, but I had more time in the evening where I wasn't so exhausted, which was really helpful towards getting me more time to write books. I was not in a place where I could leave my job yet at that point, but I had moved jobs strategically to a job that was less stressful, so I had more time to write, which was a big important step in the process. Also, while I was at that job, I was able to have my phone and headphones around, and I could listen to audiobooks and podcasts all day, and I learned so much about business and public speaking and content writing and audience growth and how to write books better, how to do other writing better. I learned so much in those many, many hours. I mean, 5 or 6 hours a day, I just got to listen to whatever I wanted to listen to. I got to learn so much, and that was so helpful. And at the time that I decided to switch jobs, I found out from this job not only that it paid better, but also that it would allow me to listen to audiobooks and things all day. And I decided to go with that one despite the other offers I had at the time, because I knew that that was going to give me more bandwidth throughout my time not at work to get more writing done and not be so exhausted. And then being able to actually absorb so much valuable knowledge while I was working was a huge plus. So with some of that extra bandwidth I had, for the 3 years that I worked at that job, I started freelancing on Upwork. And there's a lot of stigma around that. Yes, there are a lot of really garbage jobs on Upwork and awful people, but there are also some good people. So I might make a video about what my Upwork strategy was, but basically I watched a lot of videos about how to make your Upwork profile the best it can be. And there were lots of mistakes that I had made when I had it previously, and I made my profile look a lot better. I added a lot of things to my portfolio, and I started getting jobs on Upwork. And the first few jobs I got were not great. I made a terrible amount of money per hour, but I did really well for those clients, and I got really great ratings and reviews from those clients, which then allowed the Upwork algorithm to show me better jobs and give me a chance at better jobs. And I went up and up from there, and I started making more money per hour doing freelance writing for people on Upwork than I was making at my job at the university. And that got me thinking, at the time I was trying to write books full time. Like I was trying to figure out how could I make enough money writing books full time. And all the other strategies people were using were just not working for me for various reasons. And this came up, and I thought maybe I could free up even more mental bandwidth and more time by writing fewer hours if I could get enough Upwork jobs and writing clients outside of my regular job, which was not a job that involved writing. If I could just get enough work from Upwork or other writing clients at this higher rate per hour, I could replace my income and work fewer hours on, the work that I need to do to get paid so that I have more time to write. And so I think it was June of last year, I made quite a bit for, comparing my current self to my past self at the time. I made quite a bit more on Upwork than I thought was possible for me. And throughout the summer, I just kept taking all the jobs that I could get, which did reduce the amount of time I could write books, which was, inhibiting how fast I was writing books, but it was part of my strategy to be able to free up more time in the future. And by October, I was pretty sure that this would be successful. I didn't know absolutely for sure because the only way that I would have enough bandwidth to do more Upwork jobs at that point was to quit my job. So I talked to my husband about it, and we were also looking at a move to reduce our living expenses to work towards getting out of debt. And he agreed with me that I would turn in my notice to leave my job at the end of November. So once I left my day job, I actually had plenty of time to find more clients and do more work, and successfully was able to replace my income by working at a higher rate per hour for these clients and working fewer hours to have more time to write. Now, my plan is to write a whole series and do a quick release strategy with it, which is a self-publishing strategy that Sarah Cannon and Bethany Atazada and some other people out there who are really successful with self-publishing talk a lot about. And so I'm working towards that. And now that I have, taken the past few months to figure out a new schedule for myself and figure out how much money I actually need to make, how much I can make per hour. I've got some more clients that pay me a little more per hour than I did to start with, and I'm working on building up from there. And that just has freed me up so many hours to get more writing done. So it's where I'm headed at now. It's going to be a lot more likely for me to get those books written fast and be able to do a quick release sooner than it would have been possible otherwise. So what does this mean for you? So everybody's life is different. Everybody's education, life goals, the kind of income that they want for their lifestyle is different. I have a pretty inexpensive lifestyle, and since we moved and reduced our living expenses, it's even less expensive. And so I am more comfortable with a smaller income than lots of people may be. And I also don't have kids, which also makes it easier for me to survive on less money while I'm working out all of these things. And I also have a husband who, makes an income as well. So I live in a dual income household with no kids, which it's a financial advantage for me, which could be a challenge for you. But that's absolutely still something you can do. If this is something you want to do, you can absolutely still do it. And you just have to work with what you have. So I was not super organized with this strategy. It was something I was working toward for years, but I did not really write out a plan. And I would recommend doing that. I may have been able to get there faster if I had, and I definitely could have left my day job much sooner if I had actually tried harder with Upwork earlier on. And so I would really recommend writing out a plan and figuring out the numbers. So first of all, how much money do you need to make with your writing if you're going to leave your day job to replace your income? And if you look at that right now, that's probably a really big number because, you're making enough money to support yourself. So write out all of your debts and all of your regular life expenses and take a look at that and see if there's any luxury expenses like Netflix or a book box subscription of some kind that you could do without, potentially for a few months or a few years. Not forever, just for a while to reduce your income. And look at those debts. Are there any debts that you need to pay off before you leave your day job? Ideally, you'll be debt free before you leave your day job, but most people in the US acquire quite a bit of debt throughout college and buying a house and all that. So probably you'll need to have enough income to continue paying off debts. It probably would take a really long time to get all of your debt paid off before you left your day job. So it depends on the circumstances that you have. Ideally, paying off debts is great, but if you're not able to, that's okay. You can still make a plan to make enough money to continue paying your debts in the meantime after leaving your day job. Now, something to keep in mind is that as a freelancer, nobody's going to be withholding taxes for you. You're still going to have to pay income tax, and you're not going to get a tax return from the government. You're going to have to pay the government a whole bunch of money for taxes. So you need to withhold taxes yourself. I have a separate savings account specifically for taxes, and every time I get an invoice paid, I go ahead and throw a third of it into that just to it should be a little extra. I don't really need to put it exactly a third in there. 25% probably would be enough, but I go ahead and throw a third in there so I can kind of get an income tax or get a tax return from myself when I do my taxes, which was really fun last year. And I am definitely going to do that again this year. But depending on your tax bracket, which you'll need to look up, you may need to save 25 to 30% of your income back to pay to the government for taxes, which is so fun. So you may need to multiply the amount of income you need by 1.3 to figure out how much you actually need to make in order to withhold enough for taxes to still cover your expenses. So with this new income amount in mind, how could you make this money freelancing? Hopefully you're already doing something, freelancing or publishing books or something that's maybe part of what sparked your idea to want to do this full time. How could you do more of that? How could you do that more lucratively? This could look like freelance writing jobs on Upwork or Fiverr, cold emailing to acquire new freelance clients. More book sales. Maybe you could write more books. If you're somebody who writes books a lot faster than me, you could definitely make a lot more money writing books and putting them out faster. Do you have a really lucrative YouTube channel that you could make more videos on and get paid from YouTube for videos? There's lots and lots of ways that you can make money freelancing and just doing stuff on your own on the side. So how could you do more of that, and how could you do it more lucratively? The more that you can get paid per hour, the better it is, because then the more time you have, the more money you can make, and the more extra time you have. Ideally, putting away 3 to 6 months of living expenses before leaving your day job, since you'll need, like I had said for myself, I needed time to build up a full-time clientele because I wasn't able to maintain a full-time clientele of freelance clients while I was also working full-time at the university. So I needed to leave my job and only have the part-time amount of clients for a bit while I built up the rest of my clientele. So I did not have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved, but I had maybe like 2 months of living expenses saved. I would definitely recommend having more, especially if you have kids or are on a single income. I took a bit of a leap of faith there and it worked out for me, but I would still recommend trying to save a little bit more if you can. And also consider moving to a better job within your industry to help you make more money while you're working towards this. Like, is there a promotion you could get if you just did did something a little bit differently, did some extra education that maybe your company would pay for? Or like, I know someone who has a job that pays really well for them to just be available to answer email requests if they come in for the company. And then throughout the rest of the day, he can do whatever he wants to do, play video games, read books, work on the side. I mean, if there's a job like that that you can do where you're getting paid full-time amount of hours and don't have actually a full-time amount of work to do for that job, that would be really, really nice if you could pull that off. So think about what other jobs you could do to potentially make a full-time job switch like I did on the way towards your goal of eventually leaving the regular workforce altogether. And if there's anything you can do to reduce your living expenses, like living in a smaller house, even if you want to go really drastic, we moved to a smaller house and that was part of what helped us. We also moved out to the country where things are a little cheaper except for gas because everything is 45 minutes away from us now. But if you do all those things and you're willing to be disciplined and keep working at it for the months or probably years that it will take, you can definitely do it. And your story will be different than mine because we probably have different backgrounds and different situations and different values, but you can definitely pull this off if you just make a plan and stick to it and are willing to roll with the punches as things change, because sometimes wrenches will get thrown in the plans, things will go wrong, but you can definitely do this if you are disciplined and keep at it and have a plan to go with in the first place. So let me know if you're already working on this in the comments, or if this is something that you're now interested in working on. If this video was helpful to you, give it a thumbs up to let YouTube know that it is useful content that it should show to other people. And if you want me to make a more detailed video about my Upwork freelancing process, let me know and I can do that. And until next time, have fun making words happen, and I will see you later. Bye.